It is the first North London derby of the WSL season. Tottenham Hotspur against Arsenal at Brisbane Road. And me and Ben Haines have had a little role reversal ahead of the derby.
I feel uncomfortable, Rob. Immediately, I'm like fish out of water. I don't know what's going on.
I think it's best you give us the analysis
tactical sub here.
Yeah, love it. Look, you were telling me before that you are so excited for this derby. Why? Why is it such
I think this is the most exciting North London derby in years, and that's primarily down to the fact that, I mean, Spurs fans will absolutely know this, but it's been a brilliant start to the season. So many people at the beginning of the season, pundits everywhere, were talking about Spurs needing to fight off relegation off the back of what happened last season. They've come into this season and just been absolutely brilliant to watch. And that is, I think, first and foremost down to a really, really big improvement in defence. Some of the non-negotiables that Martin Ho's brought in as well, players with no fear, playing really brave football, but also working incredibly hard. I mean, one of the first things that he said is that we are going to run more than the opposition. And you have absolutely seen that in almost every game so far this season. OK, so we're going to look at Arsenal in a moment, but let's talk about the back line. And one key signing that has massively improved Spurs defensively. Yeah, Tōko Koga, let's go into her performance so far. Now, she's made this incredible partnership with Claire Hunt. You can see straight away, her timing of her challenges is excellent. She looks very calm, very composed, doesn't overcomplicate the game, does the simple things really, really well. She's got the physicality for the WSL. Her reading of situations is really, really good. I mean, you can see there straight away. Steps in, wins the ball, doesn't overcomplicate anything, and just gets Spurs back on the front foot. Now, this is against Man City. It wasn't Spurs' best evening so far in the WSL, but it was a really great opportunity for her to challenge herself against two of the best in the league. So Viv Miedemar and Bunny Shaw, she got exposed to probably the two best attackers that she's going to potentially face all season. There'll be lots more to worry about against Arsenal because we know how good their forward line is. This was against Brighton. Absolutely fantastic in this game, and a really, really good performance from Spurs on the day. And I think you can see week on week, she's growing in terms of her comfortability. I mentioned Claire Hunt before. We chatted to her the other week about the relationship that they're building, and she said that she's seeing with Tōko that it's almost an evolution that she's watching day by day. They're communicating more and more. She's learning English as well, so she's trying to get up to speed with the language. Got her first goal in the WSL against Liverpool as well, which was really, really great to see. She has been standout so far. And I think Martin Ho would absolutely agree. One of the best possible signings that he could have made. So many clubs were after her. Very lucky to have her at Tottenham.
She doesn't play like a 19-year-old. Like that understanding of the game, you can already see it there. And of course, an international player already. So look, understandable she's doing so well. Let's get into Arsenal, because you were in Munich for their Champions League game in the week against Bayern. 2-up. Ended up losing the game 3-2, and they've gone with the same 11 in the last two matches as well.
Not just 2-up, absolutely cruising in that game. It was fascinating to watch. Now, people have seen Arsenal at the weekend. This is the 11 that faced Arsenal against Chelsea at the weekend. The same 11 went into play by Munich. Now, the reason for that, Renée Slagers was saying before the game, she wants to try and build some of these partnerships. No Kim Little at the moment, that's still recovering from an injury. So it's Mariona Caldente and Vicky Pelova in the centre of the park. Mm-hmm. They need just a little bit more time. But if you watch Arsenal play, you'll know that those two are not the most physically dominant in midfield. There's no out-and-out six there. They're almost 2-8s. In the sense that they both want to play good football. They want to get on the front foot and try and build the team through the pitch, which is why this formation is quite interesting, because you would naturally look at that and think, okay, is it a 4-4-2? Well, not always. Stina Blackstenius will often go in and play off the shoulder, and Alessia Russo will drop in and become a number 10. But it's not a natural midfield three. So the other night, when it felt like Arsenal were dominant, it's because they were playing high, they were penning Bayern Munich in. In the second half, Bayern Munich just thought, you know what, we'll bypass the midfield. We'll forget about that and go straight over the top. And that then meant that those two in midfield just suddenly out of the game. Renée Slagers tried to make subs in the second half with about half an hour to go. She brought on a couple of her attacking options. She brought Chloe Kelly into the game. She brought Frida Mornum into the game. Couldn't affect it. And the momentum just totally moved over to Bayern Munich. They ran out 3-2 winners. And I think that will have really, really stung Arsenal. They'll be coming into this weekend a bit deflated after all the confidence that they built up against Chelsea. Now, what's really interesting about this, just in terms of the formation, is that they were at their worst and Bayern were at their best when they were going direct. And with Cathinka Tandberg, Rob, we've got a player that you can hit direct and know she is just going to do the most wonderful job of holding up the ball.
It was interesting because upon her signing, one of the first words she used to describe herself, right, was her physicality. And I think we've already seen that from her, haven't we, in the opening weeks of the season. Look, she's been an inspired signing. You reckon one of the signings in the WSL, right, one of the best signings this season?
Absolutely. I mean, how often do you see a player come into a new league and score goals like this straight away? I mean, it's just absolutely obscene. It's ridiculous. But also,
Brilliant.
one of the other things that I love about her, we mentioned this a few weeks back. Remember, I'm trying to remember the game that we were previewing, just 2 or 3 weeks ago. And we were looking at her yellow cards, and that might seem like an odd thing to look at with a player, and sort of saying like it's a good thing that they're getting yellow cards. But sometimes it's nice to have a striker in your side that's not afraid to mix it up. I mean, we know about her goal scoring ability; she's absolutely flying in front of goal. But you'll see this weekend, if she starts, the volume of work that she gets through, just in terms of holding up the ball, bullying defenders, and making it just horrible, probably, for the Arsenal defence this weekend.
If she scores as well in either of the next 2 games, she'll be the quickest player to have scored 5 goals in the WSL. I mean, she's obviously on 4 already this season, non-British player to have done that. You've seen that impact since she signed from Hamby.
Love this, by the way.
Yeah, mega confident from the spot.
Just drill it. Just drill it. No nonsense here. Absolutely laces this, which is lovely to see.
Because obviously there's been it's who plays up front a little bit as well, right? Because we've seen Beth England. She was on the bench for this game against London City Lionesses. She came on in the match as well.
Yeah.
But you think Tandberg will start and be key in this
But this
match?
is really interesting, right? Because Bethany England is Spurs women's talisman. I mean, she's a huge part of the side. She's the club captain. And she actually really benefited from Tinka Tandberg coming in and playing through the middle as a 9, because it meant that Beth could play that free role. And that is quite interesting because it matches up with what Arsenal were trying to do with Alessia Russo, who you would naturally consider as someone you would want to play almost back to goal, but backing into defenders and holding the ball up. You would kind of naturally think, well, Bethany England's someone that wants to be playing as the furthest forward striker. She's played in the 10 a couple of times and had been absolutely brilliant. So it will be interesting to see who takes the field in that forward line, because it could be that Martin Ho decides to play with 2 up top, or it could be that he wants to try and get maximum value out of someone like Olivia Holdt at the moment.
Well, let's have a look at the last Spurs lineup then, and the shape that the team took. Naz and Vinberg on the wings, Holt in that 10 position, playing off Tandberg. Ash Neville came into the side for that 4-2 defeat with those 2 late goals. Spurs coming back twice from trailing the game. Do you see too much change then necessarily from this being going into the game at Brisbane Road?
This is a really good question, because I think actually at this moment in time, even though Spurs lost to London City Lionesses at 2-2, there was a moment where it felt like, okay, Spurs are going to go on and win the game. They were the better side, even though Martin Ho was a little bit disappointed with the nature of the goals that Spurs conceded. They were the better side at 2-2. The game just got a little bit open, and suddenly London City were able to break and hit Spurs on the counter through Freya Godfrey and Izzy Goodwin, both incredibly quick players, very physical, will run all day. Arsenal have got similar options like that, so he'll want to avoid that scenario repeating itself. I imagine we'll get an opportunity to speak to Martin Ho a little bit later on and talk about his thoughts on how we might want to approach the game. I wonder whether this 3 in a North London derby might be just a little bit too expansive. I wonder whether he might just try and make things a little bit more difficult in the midfield. I think we know that Drew Spence and Evelina Summerton will potentially be the foundation for the side. This will be your spine here. These 5, absolutely brilliant so far this season. Anyone who didn't catch Evelina Summerton's free kick at the weekend, oh my word, go and watch that back. Postage stamp. It was so much quality.
And effortless, like one of those clipped free kicks. It showed
nonsense.
It doesn't have to be about power.
No.
Half the time, it's like accuracy will do it.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then the Spurs fans behind the goal getting to celebrate that as well. Absolutely wonderful. I think you know that this spine is going to play. After that, you have the question around your forward line. You know that Tinka Tandberg offers that physicality, but I'd argue that maybe Bethany England might be slightly better in behind if you're looking to play over the top or between the lines. Then on top of that, you've got 2 very hard workers there, but out and out wingers. It might be that he wants to leave Olivia Holdt on the pitch and get her 1v1 creativity and then try and make the midfield a little bit more compact. Or it might be that he does want to play expansive football. We might see an opportunity that Arsenal may be a little bit deflated after the other night.
Absolutely,
let's go and get after them.
Okay, well, let's talk about Olivia Holdt then, because obviously signed back in January. We know that things were difficult for Spurs in the second half of last season, and that in part has been part of the reason it's taken time to acclimatise, you'd say, to WSL football. But recent weeks, I mean, her running in possession, her strength, her technical ability has been absolutely outstanding. We even saw it last week against London City Lionesses.
Absolutely. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to get this point well enough here. That's just outrageous skill. Absolutely outrageous skill. But one of the things that she does so well for a player in her position, I was trying to speak to you the other day about this, Rob, and I was trying to work out what player she plays like that people could maybe get on board with or understand. But she drops the ball just in front of her. She's not flying at huge pace, but she just leaves the ball close enough so that defenders will dip in, and the moment that they do, she goes past
They're
them.
tempted to tackle then.
She's run 70 yards there.
Yeah.
She's carried the ball that far up the pitch, and I think sometimes that gets a little bit overlooked because it might be that she doesn't score the goal, or it might be that she doesn't get the assist. She might get the pre-assist, the pass before the pass, and that can get a little bit overlooked. But you see there again, the way that she'll just drop the shoulder, she's not flying at unbelievable pace, but she'll just drift past players and carry the team forward, which could be super important against a side like Arsenal, who we know love to have the ball. They like to dominate territory, they like to dominate possession. You saw it there. She's just brilliant in terms of gliding into those areas where she can become incredibly dangerous, get shots off and cause chances as well. That was just a sensational goal against Man City. Unfortunately, didn't count for anything on the night because City were a little bit far ahead, but I think you just got a glimpse in that game of the value and the quality that she brings.
I mean, a lot of these clips are her in central areas, Ben, obviously as part of the position she's playing.
That's outrageous, by the way. Outrageous.
Crazy finish. So you think there's a chance maybe she pushes out wide if there's that accommodation of England and Tandberg in the team together?
We have seen that at times this season,
right? Where
she might play as a kind of inside forward.
You want her in field?
Yeah, not necessarily hugging the touchline, not with the whites of the lines on her boots. She's almost drifting in field, allowing you to link up with a striker, but also then maybe almost being a bit lopsided, allowing an out-and-out winger on the other side and making the midfield a bit more compact, a bit more condensed. As I said, Arsenal will want to have the ball. In the last half hour against Chelsea last week, they were so good going forward. And I think in the first 45 minutes against Bayern Munich, that's what we saw. They suffocated Bayern Munich. They didn't let them out. And so I wonder whether Martin will be tempted to have someone like Olivia Holdt on the wing as an outball that you can ping into her and she'll just drag you 60 yards up the pitch. Because the last thing you want is a repeat of the second half against London City Lionesses where it just became a ding-dong. It became just a basketball match. Suited them massively and would potentially suit Arsenal. To have Spurs try and constantly play at this frenetic pace, you don't want to do that because then Arsenal will suddenly get on top of you and just bed in and make sure that you can't get out. I think having someone like Tandberg in there that can hold the ball up, having Olivia Holdt drag you up the field, are the sorts of players that you need on a day like this.
There were obviously the 2 defeats last season, but the pre-season win, which felt like a good early indicator of where Martin Ho was going with his side. How are you feeling going into this? There's going to be a huge crowd at Brisbane Road as well, of course.
We're looking at it's going to be a really, really good turnout. I think for me, watching North London derby, Spurs against Arsenal, whether it be at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Brisbane Road, whether it be at the Emirates, whether it be at Bournemouth, it has always felt coming into this game that Spurs are going to have the game of their life and Arsenal are going to have an off day. And Spurs fans will remember this when we beat them 1-0 at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium and Martha Thomas scored that goal where Spurs played out from the back, went the length of the pitch, and then she has this wonderful finish. It took Spurs being absolutely perfect and Arsenal being a little bit lackadaisical in the midfield and in terms of their press. I don't feel like that anymore. I think the way that Martin Ho's got Spurs playing, Spurs don't have to be an 11 out of 10 to beat Arsenal. They just have to be very good on the day. And that might be enough. You know, it might be that Arsenal at the moment, struggling with confidence, having had the wind knocked out of their sails by Bayern Munich, having conceded against Chelsea, and in the first half against Chelsea, they conceded a lot of opportunities. Yes, Spurs come to this one as the side that hasn't been dominant in the WSL, hasn't won the Champions League. But we've seen enough over the first few weeks to know that they come into this game with a real opportunity of getting a positive result.
Do you want to do a prediction? I mean, you always ask me.
Yeah, that's fair for you. Like, to be fair, I now know how horrible it feels on the other foot, particularly for a North London derby. I think if Spurs get it right, I imagine Arsenal will have more of the ball. But let's just say Spurs get it right on the day. I could see us winning 2-1 if we can utilise the fans, if we can get the fans behind us like they were at the London City Lionesses game, and we can start to use Brisbane Road as a bit of a fortress, a real home feel to it, with the amount of fans that are going to be turning out. I think Spurs can do it, but I reiterate, Spurs have to be very good on the day and have to take advantage of the fact that Arsenal maybe not at their confident best at the moment.
I've loved putting you in the analysis seat.
I hated it.
No. Ben, thank you very
Get me
much.
back.
And keep an eye out for Ben's interview with Martin Ho ahead of the North London derby.